1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Ground Up Podcast. My name is Matt Walton here with my co-host Matt Huber. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Good. You got a nice scene back there outside today, huh?
Yeah, we both have a new location today that we're doing this out of. But yeah, very green right now. It's been raining quite a bit where I've been. Everything's very wet.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm up in the mountains in a place where we're at right now. So hopefully this goes really smooth like last one's did. So guys, we got a guest today, another AI guest who is obviously AI is very important for us, very important for everybody right now. How fast it's coming. People are like, oh, AI is coming. No, AI has been here and it's getting better, and it's insane how good it's gotten. So we got somebody to come on and talk to you about his product that he's got going on, his company, and what he's doing right now within AI space, because it's really going to be revolutionary. Shabareesh, how you doing?
Hey, hi, Matt. I'm doing good.
Awesome. So Shabareesh, you run Sash AI. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Sash AI is AI-focused consulting and service company. So we do a end-to-end full-fledged development on AI, starting from the data engineering and the traditional analytics and machine learning. And we also have focused generative AI and agentic AI solutions, which we build around. And as a company, we have a different ways that we engage. So we have a bot model, where we build, operate, and transfer. And we are also into kind of a staff augmentation where we help our skilled resources onto the client side to make them as an extended team.
So explain that to me as like I'm a 5-year-old, all right? So if I am a business owner and I need some help, what type of business owners would come to you? How would you help them to obviously help them with AI?
Sure. So I think, from the go-to-market perspective, right, we have a multiple client base. We have the large enterprise. We call it as global capability centers, which is traditionally, more than 400 resources. So they come up with the bigger problems in terms of, like a specific domain, specific problem, something is not working in a specific function, or, they need some help in the workflow automations, or, they need to have a predictive model in place. So it is a very specific problem they come with. And there is other set of client who are startups, who are a small business, small medium businesses, who are typically 10 to 20 people in size, and they would want to make sure they also get access to the AI, which traditionally they do not get it from the large firms, right? So that's where we fill in the gap in terms of working with the co-founders, or working with the CEO, or the CXO team. Make sure we understand where they are facing the challenge. We kind of follow the problem first approach, right? Now we try to understand what the problem is and try to build a solution which is very outcome focused.
Okay, so just to recap and what I hear you say, a business owner or a company, typically more of a startup-based company that doesn't have maybe access to a full team or have access to some of the more robust AI options, they can come to you. They can work with you in identifying, saying, here's my problem. You go in and solve their problem and create a custom solution for that business. That's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just give an example. Like there was a founder who had a brilliant idea, and is a domain expert. He has been in the HR related field from past 15-20 years. And he wanted to build a product, very brilliant idea, but he do not know how we can get around it, right? So we just had a meeting with him, try to understand what he wants to do it. So he had some budget, and he had exactly knowing how the product should look like. And we kind of worked with him, built a very beautiful product, end to end, right? So where we kind of support him in terms of AI, full stack development, and any data engineering required. So that's how we kind of help the startup founders as well.
I know when you and I spoke last week, you had indicated that you kind of have three different tiers of your business. You have some sort of product service offering, which is already a pre-made service that's kind of a plug and play, ready to go service offering. You have the ability to custom develop stuff and then service that product. And then you have the ability to even just offer individual or team-based developers as well. Is that accurate in the way I said that?
Yeah, I think that's very well summarized. So we have some kind of accelerators, which we call, which is mostly a kind of a plug and play where the skeleton is already present. And we try to customize it to a specific business. And I mean, I'll just give an example, like let's say we have a voice calling agent as a solution. Voice calling, can be applied anywhere. It can be applied for outbound call, inbound calling, or, it can be used for a HR, for a recruitment purpose, to do the initial round of interview with the candidate. It can be, used in some online delivery services to identify where the order status is, right? So what we have is the voice calling solution as a base product, which can be customized to a specific business. It could be like we will completely build a knowledge base around that business and alter the prompt according to how the user would want to go in terms of the flow of events, and then try to deliver it. So that way, the speed to delivery is something which can be very helpful as a business owner. And to the other question, what you asked, we have a specific skill sets, which we have around generative AI and agentic AI, right? So somebody, would want to engage them and work with them, and probably on a day-to-day basis. We also provide support in terms of giving that resource to a specific firm where they work with them as an extended team, and we will have some lead architects, would be managing them in terms of what deliverables they are working on a daily basis.
Matt, so let me ask you, I mean, this AI aspect is something that we have really toyed with and played with over the past 6 months. And the initial investment into our looking into it, we didn't see it being worth our time, but now we've kind of definitely re-looked at it, and I think we're gaining a lot of momentum around it. Matt, what were you most kind of surprised with when we first looked at AI, and then just the evolution in that in the past maybe 6 months?
I guess I shouldn't have been surprised with it because you see how quickly it's changing. But from what we listened to 6 or 7 months ago on the voice AI that we're doing, like you can obviously, like as soon as it came on and started talking, you're like, oh, this is AI. Like you knew right away. And it was so easy to tell. And it had issues with, latency, or it had issues with sounding robotic. And it sounded obviously like any person you would call on the phone and get a voice recording, right? And then now 6 months later, fast forward, we get a hold of somebody that shows us the voice AI, and it's insanely good. If you really had to pay attention to see if it was AI, and even then you might not even know. And how fast AI has changed just from how good it is. I mean, you saw a while ago, I'm sure you saw this, Shabareesh, is like the type of AI videos that they would create, and how you could tell it was like an AI video that somebody put together, and the way it looked. And now, like, they can create any type of video, and you have to really pay attention to see if it's AI. And so what really surprised me, even though it shouldn't have, was how fast it's advanced. To the point where in 6 months from now, I have no idea what it's going to look like already.
Yeah, Shabrish. So to that point, I mean, you've been doing this with your business for a little over 6 months, correct? That's kind of the timeline in regards to how long you've been doing this, right? How much have you seen the involvement in AI just in the past 6 months?
Yeah, sure. So I think when we just started, right, 6 months back, it was mostly the conversational AI or a RAG-based chatbot, which was in place, and agentic AI was just getting started, right? There was no much use cases, which was available around. And what we call it as a MCP, right, Model Context Protocol. We used to actually, connect to different applications, individually, right? And today we have this MCP, which can connect to, like hundreds of applications, without any much effort. And similarly, like when we started, it was only more of a single agent, which we were trying to build. And today we have a complete agentic AI framework, where the agent can talk to another agent, and there is an orchestrator, which can be built around it. And not to forget, right? I think in terms of the API charges, what we add 6 months back to now is actually dropping, which makes it more economical for the business also
Yes.
to adopt.
That's a great point, because I know that when Matt and I looked at it, it was around December. And when we looked at the cost per call, it didn't make sense. Like we have access to some world-class talent throughout the world, and that access to talent is very affordable. And when we looked at the replacement or supplement of our talent that we have with voice AI, not only was the AI just not there yet 6 months ago, but it also wasn't more affordable than the talent we had access to.
Yeah, I'll just
So
probably give a small example, right?
yeah,
We used to use a real-time OpenAI assist for our voice calling, 6 months back, which used to cost us around $1 a minute. Not many business were open, to adopt this $1 per minute, because that's a huge operational cost for them. And fast forward, today we actually break it down. We use speech to text, and we use a LLM, and we use a text to speech model, right? We have broken it down into pieces, and we have stitched it together and given the same real time effect, right? And that is costing us almost around 10 cents a minute. So it's 1/10 of what we used to incur 6 months back.
yeah, and I would guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong, like the more adaption to these type of tools throughout general business, it will continue to get more affordable. Like I can think of 10 years ago, I wanted to go buy a big screen TV at the store versus going now, I can get a 80-inch TV at my local Walmart and it costs like $500 at this point, to where that would have been $5,000 10 years ago to get that level of a TV.
Yeah.
I do see the adoption coming in more. Matt, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the quality of your TV that you bought too is now 1,000 times better than what you bought 5, 10 years ago, and it's cheaper. It's insane. I mean, more companies. I mean, you saw Google release Gemini and a bunch of ones like that are coming out with different AI solutions. You have to compete, and if you're the most expensive one, especially not the most technological, the most advanced one, I couldn't get that word out. Uh, you're gonna lose. So the costs continue to get down and down as we go, which is great. So I wanted to ask you, Shabareesh, are you developing off of every single platform that you can? Because I think that's something that we've talked to another AI developer on, is that you have to be flexible with what you're developing on. You can't just say, I want to develop on 11 Labs and that's it, because 11 Labs could get beat out next month by so many different other ones, and it's the worst, the least the worst one you can use. Gemini and everything is building up, or new ones come out. You have to be able to flexible with that. So are you doing that when you build? Are you really taking that into account when you build different things?
Yeah. So I think we generally do not restrict it to a specific vendor. Like it completely depends on a use case. So in some cases, like let's say uh, GPT-4 does a very great job, right? But in some other cases, Gemini does a better job than GPT. It's completely case to case basis. And similarly, for a text to speech, 11 Labs mostly is the current trend, which is doing a wonderful job. But if you see, for a very specific regional languages, probably 11 Labs is not doing that great. Probably a regional TTS or a text to speech it can do a better job. So I think the way we select these vendors or APIs is completely based on the use case, what a client wants. And also to an extent, the compromise that they can make over the cost.
We're starting to build our own development team internally, but let's say if you're a 16, 17-year-old person who's interested in getting into AI, where do you go to learn everything that you should reach? I mean, how do you pick that up? Is there a place that you can learn it? I know that OpenAI has their own kind of like school. I know that all of these different AI companies have their own learning resources. Is that where you go, or is there other places?
See, the way we do it is, we generally go through a lot of YouTube videos. There is a Coursera, there is a deep learning. There are a lot of websites, right? So what we have designed for our team, I think there are some freshers also, who was just passed out from the graduation and joining us, right? And who probably need some kind of a training for them to onboard. So what we have done is we kind of made a curriculum, in terms of starting from what is AI, what is LLM, and all the basic stuff, until how the multi-agent framework works, and all the advanced integrations and stuff. So we have a kind of a like 1 to 3, probably 25 different courses from different websites. It might not be everything on the same site or portal, right? So that way we have designed our own curriculum. Most of it are a free or open source, right? Which you need not have to pay unless until you want a certificate. So that's how we kind of moderate all our trainings and upskill the resources.
That's pretty great. So I mean, you decided to create your own, or at least pool resources
Yeah.
into your own training to help people out. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So probably I would have seen 5 different videos on a specific topic, but I know that the 4 are not so good, and kind of shortlist that one specific video, which would be more simple and explainable.
Yeah, that's what we did with our businesses too. I mean, whenever we have our onboarding process, they go through our training in school, where they can learn either a sales training, real estate training, BDC training, any type of training that we do on that. So we built our own internally so we could have that instead of sending them out. But I think that's awesome that you guys pull it from a bunch of different resources in that. So I mean, with the onboarding, are you, when you're hiring people, and I guess you're hiring for teams of developers and whoever else you're putting on your team, are you looking for them to have any experience in AI beforehand, or are you guys fully training from the ground up? You've never had any experience in AI, and now we're going to make you an AI expert.
Yeah. So I think because this trend of Gen AI and agentic AI is pretty new, in terms of last 1.5 2 years, it's been picking up. It's very hard to get a seasoned developers right now who's fully aware of this. And the market is so hot that, they come up with a huge compensation as well. So while we have a mix of different years of experience, the average size of our team is somewhere between 3 to 5 years. We have started building army of agents, what I call, who are fresh passed out of the college, put them 1 month completely training, put them onto our curriculum, make sure they understand the basics, they understand how to code. And the coding also, we generally entertain not to code anything from scratch, right? Use the vibe coding. You use the tools, to code, and you understand how to tweak it. So that's how we kind of promote or manage them to do it. And once the 1 month training is done, the next 3 months we predominantly give them some small use cases, very internal to the project, something which we are trying to build as an accelerator or in-house projects. We try to push them. So post that they're ready to go live to work on a client. And every junior resource is actually mentored by a senior resource. So that way, like they have a go-to person whom they can ask whenever they're stuck. So it's a 4 month journey for them to go live. That's the time frame what we look. That's the investment what we make in a person.
Look, man, that's actually awesome. It's music to my ears because it's a very similar way that Matt and I had built our business on the side of the real estate and the sales and the BDC. We bring people in, and we're firm believers, both Matt and I, in bringing people in more off of personality traits than experience. I hear that you kind of have to do it because it's kind of the way you have to do it in this world, because there's not a lot of people who have, or really nobody who has 20 years of building AIs in this way. So you kind of have to build people from the ground up. But I also think that is the most sustainable business model as well, to be able to train people the right way from the beginning, grow them organically, teach them your way. And I think that you create a real strong, stable of people. Now, let me ask you this, because there's not only positives in AI, there's also negatives. Like, I was just listening to a TED talk with Sam Altman, was talking about OpenAI and his decision to go from OpenAI to more of a closed AI solution. And he was originally talking about really putting a lot of governmental guardrails here in the US around it. Now he's kind of changed his tune and not want to do that. Where do you see like some of the big things to look out for in AI in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I think that if not managed correctly with the right mindset, it could be a lot of negatives that could happen with AI too. What do you see from your side of it?
Yeah, I think I'll probably take this one into two pieces right now. So where I see it going is in terms of building a very domain specific models, right? So currently, if you see GPT is there, and most of the people hesitate to use GPT for their business because they feel that probably GPT is training their data in the backend, right? So what I see is, people will start moving towards the offline models. People will start using more of a small language models, rather than a large language models, very specific to their specific domain, which probably, like, let's say if I'm into a tutor or like training business, I probably use a small language model which is completely trained on my mathematics or the problem solving, right? I do not want to use a LLM. So by doing that, one, your latency is improved. Two, your cost is also improved. Number three is, probably slowly, people will start moving towards using the secured APIs in terms of moving into the cloud. And also, lastly, guardrails is something which probably will be in place in terms of what AI can answer and what AI cannot, and in what context or in what tone it has to be answering. So just to avoid the hallucinations, probably this becomes very important in future.
Yeah, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they had indicated that in the very near future, you would not be able to use voice AI to be indistinguishable to a human. That you would likely have to be able to identify that this is an AI bot to be able to create a clear separation of human versus non-human. Do you anticipate that being the case as well?
Yeah, I mean, let's say today, I can actually clone my own voice and probably talk to anyone, right? How I speak, what context, what words I use, and completely mimic myself. But one thing probably which is still very strict or under the security radar is, unless and until it's my consent, I cannot do it, right? Like, I cannot, or nobody can use my voice without my consent. It can be my voice or it can be my video, right? If somebody is doing it, then probably, yeah, I mean, that's completely outside it. They might face some consequences. And number two is in terms of us doing it, the only way for us to identify whether it's a AI agent or not, it's a human talking, is through where the call is initiating from, right? Let's say if the call is initiating from a VoIP or if it is initiating from a telephony service, I know that probably it's most likely be a AI agent which is talking. And number two, if it is coming from my personal phone or if it is coming from the ISP service providers, right? So then that's a differentiator that somebody can recognize. So everything being said, things might change in future. You never know in future, like if it is me talking to you on this podcast or if it is my AI avatar who's sitting and talking to you in the podcast, right? So
That'd be
we
crazy if you were AI this entire time just talking to us.
Yeah.
That'd be insane. We
Yeah,
have no idea.
sold.
Yeah, yeah. No. The future, we have no idea what's coming. But yeah, I think they have to put regulations in place. I mean, they already saw that happening when AI was first coming out, and then people started making music with people like with famous artists' voice behind it. And you wouldn't even know that wasn't like I think it was like Drake that made it. Like, you wouldn't even know that was Drake's voice that or Drake didn't actually make that. So there's got to be things in place. Every time you call certain places, they have to tell you, hey, this is a recording before they go and start talking about things, because that's the law within. I think it's going to be the same thing with AI. This is AI talking beforehand.
Let me ask you this. I mean, so with that being said, let's assume that they do move towards the model where you're going to not be. I think that within 6 months, me calling you would be indistinguishable to my AI calling you. And I think it's not far from that right now today. Matt and I have a team and we put a couple of scripts together, and then all of a sudden without my consent, Shabareesh, without my consent, they pulled content of mine, made my voice be it, and then had my voice call me, and was like, I was blown away. It was very interesting.
yeah.
I've given my consent as of now, but there could be a world where that is completely indistinguishable. Now, there are still things in there that I think maybe aren't able to add in, or maybe you can. You tell me. The emotion, the sense of humor, the tonality, certain like personality traits that are distinguishable to me. How easy is those things to add in there? Not just like the sound of my voice, but the actual personality that my voice might communicate with. How easy are those things to add into AI voice now?
Yeah. I think if you're using a service provider like Lemon Labs, Matt, there is a parameter which is in the scale of 0 to 1, which can actually increase or decrease the intensity of your tone, right? Like you want to be more aggressive, or you want to be less aggressive. Like, let's say if you're a salesperson, you would want to increase it to the more because you're more passionately talking, more aggressively talking. If you are a customer service agent, then you need to decrease it. Probably it is more patiently listening, and the type of words that it can use, or the context it can speak, everything can be customized. You can actually fit into a personality, right? How you want to speak, whether you want to speak very professionally, or you want to probably speak a little light. It can also be made in such a way that it can crack some jokes in between, and you can define at what extent it can be. It can either be very flirty, if that's the context, or it can also be very politely cracking a joke as well. The entire thing can be customized. Either it can be done through a prompt, or it can be done through a parameter, or it can be trained on a specific knowledge base.
Let's just say I'm in America, I call a customer, and then I get the hint that that customer might prefer to speak Spanish, right? They might actually be answering the phone in Spanish. Can I identify they speak Spanish, adjust to speak Spanish, or to have a little bit more of an accent in that communication based off of what I'm hearing? Is there that level of like on the fly customization around what's being delivered?
Yeah, I think we recently built a solution, where the customer wanted a multilingual support on the voice calling. We include a feature called as automatic speech recognition, right? Where irrespective of like what language the customer speaks, the agent is to automatically adjust to it. Right. So, say for example, the agent starts with English, but the other person, the customer is talking in Spanish. It knows that this person is talking in Spanish, and it accordingly changes it to Spanish. So that can be done. That there is options through the ASR, automatic speech recognition, which can be used to detect the language and change it accordingly.
In your experience, have you found it to be better? Let's just say you run into that, or let's just say I anticipate running into that into one of my businesses. Would you think it's better for AI agent John to then all of a sudden switch to Spanish fluently? Or would it be better to say, hey, Mr. Customer, please hold on. Let me get you to another agent who knows how to speak Spanish. And then you put them on some sort of a pause, and now AI Susie comes on and Susie speaks Spanish. Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I think from a user experience point of view, it is always good to divert the call to a fellow agent, just because it's very easily detectable that for a human to know that they are talking to a bot, right? It can probably to be a red flag for a customer not to engage the conversation further.
So what worries me, and I was thinking about this as you guys were talking a little bit. The only thing that really worries me about AI, I mean, there's a bunch of things, but for me, it stands out is, older people who are very old. I mean, how many times do they go and buy gift cards and stuff like that for people who called them and said that they need help, or the Prince of Nigeria who has a bunch of money and wants to send them, just give their bank account, and they go and do it. They have no idea. Now imagine you take AI and you clone the voice of their grandson or their son, and then that AI voice calls them and says, "Hey, I need help. I'm in trouble. Blah blah blah. Send me money." And for them, like that scares me about, so I mean, what do you think about that, Shabareesh? I mean, obviously we need to have, like we talked about, parameters in place and things that can really protect them, but I think that is something that sticks out a little bit to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's already happening now. I've gone through some readings, on the internet where somebody, is calling from a different number, claims it to be, is or our father, and ask for a OTP, one-time password for some banking transaction, right? And the person, probably innocent enough, just tells the OTP because it's his father, who's asking for it, right? But probably, the only way to avoid it is, probably to be more educating in terms of what's happening around. And probably if somebody claims to be their father, mother, just give them a call and ask, like what's happening, right?
Yeah. So
But
I think the lady we spoke to, Eva, who has run the company, she said with her family, they have a password. Yeah,
Yep.
they have a password that they have, and so if somebody happens to call and ask for something, they say the password. I think that's one of the things that we talked about. With Ava too, we talked about, hey, how like in general there needs to be just full education for everybody for AI, and I think it needs to be put out there where you can easily understand the safety behind it. It needs to be something that's probably put into schools itself, and to where it's like it's a not a public education thing that happens consistently, because I think it's going to switch fast.
Because
yeah,
Shabrish, you can
absolutely.
even like fake the number you're calling from. Like you can have it to be calling from something, but saying it's this phone number. So, like if they found out what my phone number is, they could actually display it as my phone number, then with my voice saying what we're saying. So yeah, I mean, I think that password idea is my wife and I have already said we need to have a password within our house because
Yeah,
when I showed her the voice of me doing it, that I didn't even at that time say, hey, do it. It's like, man, that's so easy for you to come up with that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's well said, Matt. Either you can have some kind of a code, which you can exchange, or probably you get into agreement, not to exchange any passwords, OTP over phone, just make it more face to face.
Because I can imagine you could even intercept that. I mean, even through text messages, and there's even ways to intercept. If I then dial from my phone my wife's number, there's a way to potentially, I would assume, intercept that and then be able to.
Yeah. No, I think the scary part is, AI is now accessible to everyone. Maybe earlier it was very few people, very kind of a techie who can get access to all this. Now it is very easily accessible to everyone. So it is even more challenging, and probably people have to be more careful in terms of how they deal with all this stuff.
Yeah, because Matt, as you asked that question in my head, what immediately went to it is it's kind of like here in America, it's kind of like whether guns are legal or not. Businesses like us, we're gonna if the law says we have to determine the fact that we're AI, we will, but the criminals aren't going to then make a scam call and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is AI. Like it's not going to be able to be hard coded into all AI to where it's unable to be used without that process. So the criminals, I think, will still use it for those purposes.
Yeah, yeah. It's just obviously the biggest thing is education on what
Education.
we're doing. Yeah, you have to know, and so you have to tell old people, hey, there's no Prince of Nigeria that has a bunch of money trying to send to you. Like you can't take that. If somebody asks for your password, they say over and over again, like our bank, when you call them and say, hey, we will not ask for this, we will not ask for this. Like don't do that. See how many people on Instagram? I mean, they take whatever guru they follow, and somebody takes their fake account, sends them a thing that says, hey, buy this crypto or whatever, and then they do it, and it's tough. I mean, there's so much out there that you have to be aware of. I think it's just getting more and more obviously crazy.
Yeah, I think awareness and education, these are the only things which can probably avoid this.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, what do you see? How do you see your company evolving? Because that's something that we've had to talk about internally a lot with me and Matt. I mean, we obviously run a VA company, a virtual assistant company, along with a bunch of other things, and we find talent across the world. Then you run AI, and AI is like we can potentially replace all those people. Not that we want to, but that's an option that could happen. And so we pivot our business to that, and we're constantly having to do that. So are you seeing yourself, and obviously you have to keep up with the trends, but are you seeing yourself being flexible enough to pivot a bunch of times to what happens with AI?
One thing, we probably more focused on is AI, right? We wanted to emerge as a niche AI boutique firm. We do not want to be, too many places. But that being said, like whatever technologies, or tools evolves within AI, we need to make sure we are kind of getting ourselves up to date on those things. Today, it can be a generative AI, LLMs, agentic AI. Tomorrow, it can be something, extended, alongside, right? So we want to make sure we kind of update ourselves on a regular basis, and we want to grow organically as well. Right now, we do not want to probably grow big, without having too much a pipeline. As in, then we are talking to people. There is a good response all over, and the more credibility we build, the more number of people are reaching out to us. So that's something which we are focusing as well. We want to be more AI expert than be all around the places.
So what are some tips that you would give people to stay up to date with AI and the ever changing aspects of it?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, for me, I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, which give some kind of updates on what's happening in the latest trends, and also there is a YouTube, LinkedIn, like in the network, there are people posting, about the trends, what's happening. X is another good site, where a lot of it depends on whom you're following, right? Now, if I'm following Sam, then I know, I get an updates on what's happening. Similarly, I have a list of people who I follow very closely, but to understand the trends. And also, YouTube is another great source, where you can probably get to learn a lot of things. Once what's trending, you can switch to YouTube and kind of go deep into it.
So with your team, I mean, how big are you guys looking to grow? How big is your team right now to handle whatever you need that comes up?
Yeah, so we are a team of 21 for now. Like we have a team of data engineers, we have AI engineers, who focus on Gen AI and agentic AI solutions. We have a full stack developers. So it's a combination of all these technologies. And we aim to probably grow somewhere close to 70, 75 towards the end of financial year, which is March 2026. So that's the kind of a growth what we're looking at, Matt.
So let me ask you this, Shabareesh. It sounds like to me AI in the development side is obviously you guys' strengths. And what Matt and I do is we work with, business owners around different stages of their growth and their development. And it sounds like that side's really locked in. What would you say is not so locked in about your business right now? What would you say is your biggest need, your biggest gap in regards to what would stop you from going from that 22 people today to that 75 you aim to be by the end of the year? What do you need help with?
Yeah. So I think if you see, like me and my co-founder Bidapa, right? Both of us are technical experts. We come with the AI background. We are very good in terms of solution architecting, delivering the solutions. The go-to-market, right? Now that's something which we probably there is a gap in terms of us reaching out to different markets. So for now, what we have done is, probably we are trying to partner with some companies, some consultants, who can get us projects or help us in generating the leads. That's the gap, probably I would say at the moment.
Now, do you guys, whenever you create a solution for somebody, do you guys also manage it and make sure that be like customer service to them, technical support, all that, or do you just build it and say, there you go?
Yeah, I think we have a three different client engagement models. So one, as I told, is bot, where we build transfer. This is to a specific problem or a solution, which we would want to build. And the second one is the managed services, where they already have something, but they want somebody to manage on an ongoing basis, right? Where we kind of become their AI experts. Like make sure their product is running throughout 24/7, and like they get the support. We have a different level of support, L1, L2, and L3, and we try to work it around based on that. And the third one is the staff augmentation, where we kind of provide them the skill set, what we have ready to be deployed, ready to work from day one, and try to build on a specific product or a solution, which the client is looking for.
Matt, how long until AI Matt takes over your job?
Yeah, I do think that fortunately where I position myself in the marketplace, I think that it will likely never take over my job. And I think that as it does, I think my job will continue to evolve. But I think it'll take over a lot of what I do. I think it'll make a lot of what I do easier. AI, I think, will continue to supplement what I do and help us learn what we do. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm naive when I say that I think that the part of the job that I think it will take over is I think it'll take over 90% of customer facing sales roles. Now, as my role has evolved over the past couple of years to be in a different way. I don't know how much it would take over from the big picture. I mean, what do you think about you, Matt? Whether that be here in our business and the role you serve within our business, or whether that be on the real estate side, where do you think this will really hit you hard?
Yeah, I think that with what we've heard already from, your AI voice today replicated mine. I mean, AI could literally do the entire sales process on our cold calls to sellers or cold calls to agents, and agent have no idea that they're not talking to me until we're ready to close a deal, and then maybe I have to get on the phone just to get the contract signed. But even then, that could probably be done by AI also. So I could literally just wake up in the morning and see how many contracts I got in my inbox, and then get those sold to buyers in a second. So that would be, I guess, great at one point, but also it's a little scary how fast that could happen. Reach, I mean, how long? I mean, how have you replaced yourself anywhere on AI yet, to where you used to do things, but now you don't anymore because your AI does it for you?
Yes. No, I think, see, I would probably say it in a slightly different way, right? AI does not replace a human in a job. So AI replaces a human who does not know how to work with AI, right? Probably if I do not know how to leverage AI to be more productive, so those are the folks, who gets replaced, right? Now, if I'm still thinking that I do the way I used to do probably 10 years back, then you're gone. Right. So you need to be quick enough to adopt and know probably how to leverage AI and probably be more fast and productive. That's the only way, for humans to survive in a specific role. So the best way to predict the future is to invent it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think about just while you're talking, I was thinking about Tim Ferriss. He has a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. Have you read that before?
No, not really.
That book about 4 hour work week, and it was when it was a long time ago he wrote it, where it was when like he would have a job, but then he would find ways to not be at the job and have the job kind of run itself, where he could go and do whatever he wanted to because he only worked about 4 hours because he replaced himself with VAs doing certain tasks, and he would make it make sense to where it would like he could literally just go and do what he wants to while him and as his job, if it could be a 9 to 5 regular job, was running itself. Now I'm thinking about that book that he wrote that long ago, talking about VAs hiring. Like, imagine the 4 hour work week now if he wrote it and was like, you could literally have AI just replace you completely on this job, and then you could just hang out and do whatever. Next thing, like if you have a sales job in a 9 to 5 company, you could literally have this AI do all the sales for you, and you just go and you're on vacation, taking a break and chilling, and sales are coming in.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
was
think
wondering
this
how that'd
this
be.
will actually open up a lot of new roles, Matt, and also this will change the operating model of how the business works itself, right? Probably, like sometime back, having a large organization was sexy, but now today, if you want to be efficient, like it has to be lean in terms of how many people you have in your organization has to be lean to make sure you're efficiently working.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. You had mentioned this earlier that right now, 11 Labs is great for voice AI. There's probably things that will continue to evolve. There's a lot of other integrations that would do. If you're building out an AI model, you're building out a world where you'll have AI agents making cold calls, outbound calls, being a customer service agent, handling the front end of a lot of those type of aspects. What are some other platforms or tools or integrations that you really seeing being incredibly valuable? I asked this question in that for us, if we're going to ever use AI bots or an AI agent in some of the worlds, they're going to have to integrate in with certain CRMs. They're going to have to integrate in with certain phone systems. They're going to have to integrate in with some of these other things. What are some of the other technologies that we should also be exploring to get the most out of all of the moving parts of a business using an AI agent?
Yeah, sure. So I think, I mean, if you're talking very specific to voice calling, right, Matt, like selecting a telephony becomes a very important, like the service provider. And my preferred one is a Twilio, now, which is probably I consider it as a best. And when it comes to probably the speech to text or LLM, I would still, stick to the GPT. The alternative could be Gemini, probably if you're not so happy with the way it is responding. And for a text to speech, I would still restrict it to 11 labs if it is a English which you want to talk. If it is a multilingual, like, then there are like different other second level providers can customize that. But 11 labs does and covers most of the multilingual, the majorly spoken languages in the world. So that should be good. And for us to focus on the latency, probably having a small language model definitely helps. If you're training this model on your knowledge base, which probably could be a PDF or database or something else. So that will actually slow down, whenever you are asking something. Let's say if you're asking, what's my last bill amount I paid? right? It needs to go to your database, look into it and then fetch it, right? So that will increase the latency. So either to avoid this, you can have a API calls to your database to make sure, it just goes and gets fetches it. Or, you need to make sure you're, instead of using a large language model, you use a small language model, which could potentially reduce your latency as well. The other way to reduce the latency is to make sure you have the filler words in between, just to keep the customers engaging. You fill it with, oh, is it okay? Okay, got it. Some kind of a filler words, it artificially induces, some words to reduce the latency. They're probably 95% there, in terms of mimicking the exact human. I think it's a matter of time, where we'll just be at a place, where you cannot identify whether it's a human or an agent talking.
Now, one of the other voice techniques I heard was, and I think it's also still a little challenging in some of them that I hear, which is like the ability to then make run-on sentences. As in, like you might have a paragraph explanation, but the separation of where there's gaps. What technique do you use to create that separation or that breath, you might say, in between sentences when you're going with a long paragraph?
I think there are a couple of techniques there, right? So one is called as a tokenization, where you try to break the words. Like the way generally by default it works is, whenever the output is generating from LLM, it waits for a complete sentence to generate and then pass it into a text to speech, right? Instead of doing that, you can actually tokenize it and stream it, right? Now, as and then the LLM is generating the output word by word, it start processing to the text to speech. Instead of waiting for the complete sentence to generate, you can start processing it into the text to speech. So this will actually reduce the latency, drastically. And the other part is, it probably, if you are too much concerned in terms of the length of the words, you need to cut it down in terms of giving a specific capping in terms of how many number of words, it needs to generate answer. That can be done as well.
I got you. So, like, there's a way for you to be able to draw a harder line in the sand in regards to when a sentence ends or where there's a break, and also maybe shortening the length of that time as well. One other question, and then Matt, I'll let you take us home, which is what I heard you say, and just correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things that will cut down on the latency and the smoothness of the conversation in that is just not having too much information for the AI to have to process through, right? So having the ability to answer a question, but being able to have a smaller database to go get the answer to that question from. But if they're trying to go through the whole web of information, then the processing of going to find that becomes larger. But if you have all of the answers already kind of pre-programmed, which is I think what Matt and I have anticipated doing, which is anticipating pretty much every formulated question and then having them go to our database, not the world database, to answer, that's going to also create a smoother conversation with less latency, right? So that's when you say a small language model versus a large language model, which is just more of a controlled environment keeping it in, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just to call out one more technique, just to what you said, there's something called as a caching, right? Like let's say there are like 100 question and answers, which probably the most frequently asked. You can actually pre-cache this, in terms of the memory itself once the call is initiated, so that, the agent is having that access to this cache memory. That reduces a lot of speed as well. So caching is, one other good technique, if you are like concerned about the latency, Matt.
Awesome.
Now, Shabareesh, I do have another question. You're going great with this. And so now, and this is more pointing back to your business. One of the things that you said you do, or you did not say that you do, but I think that you should add to it. And if you did, we would probably use you for this. Do you ever do any consulting for companies who have their own development team? So, like, for instance, if I've got my development team and I wanted to borrow an hour or a pod group of hours to say, hey, can my developer just meet with you to pick your brain on some things? Do you offer a service like that just for our audience?
Yeah. So AI consulting is, one of our service offerings as well. We do engage with companies who already have their team, but, probably need our kind of a solution architecting, or, specific questions to be answered. We do AI consulting as well, Matt.
Perfect. Sounds good. Matt?
Awesome. And so one of the things I'm interested to know before we wrap up here is, you mentioned that you stay up on trends, you follow certain people, you follow newsletters. Can you give us a few people or a few places and people that you follow in order to stay up on the trends of AI and keep up to date?
Yeah, sure. So I think there is a page, a LinkedIn page called Generative AI, which I follow very closely, and there's a newsletter called as Daily Dose of DS, which does a very good job, in terms of the agentic AI or generative AI, what's happening in the news trend. And also, there is a LinkedIn page called as a 3AI, which is again a platform, which gives us all the latest trends, which is happening in the industry, AI space. And similarly, some of the people whom I follow is Sam Altman, just to know what's happening. And there is one more guy, called as Shiva Surinder, right? He's a CEO of Lizer. He kind of updates, a lot of interesting stuffs as well. And I keep, looking into, or follow some of the pages of more specific to Llama Index, just to understand what's happening in the space specific to that specific Llama. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. I think a lot of other things are either the industry leaders or the peers who have built the companies, or who are into AI space, whom I connected into LinkedIn. So I just keep getting the updates in terms of what's happening in the space. Yeah, there are a lot of good industry, conference which happens. That could be a good space, to get to update, what's happening.
Shabareesh, I'm looking forward to the day that you are the leading AI expert, that we have to follow you, Shabareesh, to find out what the new updates are.
Absolutely. I keep posting, or reposting some of the good stuff, just to make sure, like, you get everything. If you follow me, you'll be consolidating all the updates on what's happening.
Efficiency, right? Instead of following a bunch of other people, Shabareesh will follow the best ones for you, put them in on his thing, and to make sure
Yeah.
it's all
I
consolidated.
keep posting, like whatever post probably I get inspired. I keep posting almost every alternative day about some of the latest trends and what's happening in the industries.
Gotcha. And then Shabareesh, if they want to go and reach out to you and your company, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can probably write to us on info at Sash AI, say SHAI .tech, TECH. Or for more details, you can kind of just hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help in any way possible.
Awesome. And we'll make sure we link all your socials in here as well, to make sure that people can reach out to you and get you, not only follow you to learn more about AI, but also to reach out to you if they need help with custom AI bots and helping them to grow their business. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys are listening, if you got anything from this, just like we did from Shabareesh, please like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so we can get the alerts in any way possible. We launch our episodes every Friday. We not only post a bunch of our clips from our episodes consistently on our Instagram pages, Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, whatever pages we have. They're all out there for you to get our content we put out there. So please, guys, follow us, give us a comment, let us know how you think about it, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.
Suresh.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
1, 2,